Hello, wonderful people, and welcome to Fanfiction Woes, whereby we react to chaotic fanfiction and see what our thoughts and opinions are on it. They will probably differ, but there we are. I'd like to point out this is my first ever video, so there's going to be some trial and error, and I will appreciate feedback. I haven't done editing before, but as per usual, as people do, go on YouTube, where we are now, and do what we can. I have put quite a lot of preparation because at the end of the day, I'm taking this seriously. But I thought just kind of be aware. I'm not going to say be kind because this is the internet, but I don't know how to finish that thought. But basically, just go with it. And if you want to subscribe, because if you think you're into this, please do. In the future, it will be more to what you want, and I'll have more skills. So I'm picking three fan fictions that are relevant to the title. In this case, AO3 Harry Potter crack fan fictions. That is a mouthful, admittedly. So I pick three, I skim read them just to check there's no smart. But I base the ones I've picked off the blurbs and the infamous tags, which I will read some of them out for you. If they're interesting, if they're just the normal like Harry Potter, then I don't see the point. And yeah, we read them together and go from there. So without further BS, let's get into it because I've already seen the first couple of sentences, but I've seen the first couple of sentences by accident, and quite frankly, I am excited. So this one is called Defying Expectations and Gravity by BinteMuhammad. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, not the Muhammad part, but the Binte, Binte. But I hope I haven't got it too wrong. My apologies if I have. So the interesting tags to this are outer space, crack, attempt at humor. Normally when people say attempt, it means it's good because they're aware of how insane it is. Anyway, the blurb: Harry cooks up a mad plan and Dumbledore follows along too willingly. Voldemort had better watch out. Well, that's one starter. Anyway, it is on a bright, clear night when Harry thinks of his crazy idea. He is in the astronomy tower, looking up at the dog star, thinking about Sirius. Sirius had a bike, he remembers. Could he have gone to space with it? Harry thinks not, but it would be just the thing Sirius would do. How would Sirius react, Harry thinks, if I found a way to go to space? That is the beginning of his mad plan. The next day finds Harry in Dumbledore's office. If Harry had been any less excited, he might have felt embarrassed at the memory of the last time being there. Here. As it is, he is too enthusiastic about his plan to think of anything else. Do you like magical theory, Professor? Well, of course, my boy, is Dumbledore's bemused reply. Alas, I'm way too busy to meddle in it as I used to. Too busy to help me meddle in? Harry asks, a downturned tilt to his lips. Dumbledore's eyes dim with guilt. I could squeeze out the time. Okay, that is one hell of a way to start fan fiction, but let's not lie, right? Let's think about the second book, whereby is it second book whereby Harry and Ron steal Ron's dad's car? So this is not far-fetched, and what I like is when crack fan fictions have a believable aspect to them because that draws you in. Well, personally, I don't know if you agree or not, but let's talk about it. But I do genuinely think it's quite interesting, and you can believe that. Second of all, Dumbledore's attention span is so short, his head is in the clouds. If it wasn't for the fact he can fight a fight, I don't think you're going to come at me, but I don't think he'd be that great of a headmaster. I mean, I understand why, but he literally effed off for an entire year. So he's so hyper focused on chaos, normally in relation to fighting Voldemort, but also in general. And I get that because if I had to suffer with hundreds of students, I would be the exact same. Wonderful! Harry's eyes shine. Let's prank Voldemort and send him to space. I beg your pardon? I've already done some research, Harry continues, ignoring Dumbledore's surprise. The main thing would be gravity. That is, after we manage to cross the atmospheric layer. That would be easy with magic. I mean, if muggles have managed. Muggles have gone to space. Dumbledore finally manages to get Harry's attention. Of course. Harry stares at Dumbledore with wide eyes. How did you not know that? It seems I'm behind in the news, Dumbledore ponders, stroking his beard. Let's start from the beginning. There is a way to circumvent gravity, you say? And what's that about atmospheric pressure? The fact that Dumbledore, doesn't know about Muggles going to space surprises me, but doesn't. It surprises me because when Muggles went to space, I mean, this is a bit of argument, but the most well-known date is 1969. He was alive then. He's like 100 years old. So how did he not know? He must have known at some point. He had to, but then he probably forgot it or thought, okay, I don't care, and then forgot it. But yeah, I guess overall it doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, it's certainly an interesting thought. But I'm interested to see where this goes to. We need a long discussion. Or maybe not. I've been studying the Muggle landing and trying to translate that to magic, but maybe we need a new way. Let's not reinvent the wheel, Harry. Come, tell me about the Muggle landing. Dumbledore sits forward, folding his arms on the desk. So begins a long and interesting discussion on speed and pressure and gravity and rockets. Dumbledore listens intently, providing input in accordance with magic's perspective, and how now sorry, and now and then Harry notes down a question he needs to look up in his Muggle books. The couple barely takes note as a plate appears by their side, filled with sandwiches. The shadows grow in the office, and the candles light themselves, and still the discussion continues. At one point, Harry moves his chair next to Dumbledore's, the better to see the diagram Dumbledore starts drawing. It is past midnight when they are jerked back to Earth. Can we just point out that Harry, we don't know his age in this, but, well, maybe they mention it later, but he knows a lot about physics, or at least like high school physics, and he's not being taught it at Hogwarts. So that suggests he was so bored at times, being forced to stay at the Dursleys, that he dead ass. Can I say that? Yeah, dead ass stole some books of Dursley and read them. That suggests his boredom, but also it shows his intelligence when he focuses. But obviously, he can't focus, and I don't give him any hate. But he's got a lot on his plate, e- even in his earlier years. So, I mean, I wonder what would happen if he was raised in the Muggle world. Probably a lot of depression, but I digress, as King Cobra JFS would say. Also, to add on to that, I really think, as I said before, Dumbledore revels in chaos and therefore loves a good distraction because chances are he was just marking homework, which, as I've never been a teacher, but at the same time, that probably drives you crazy. So when a kid comes along saying, you know what, let's go to space. I get where he's coming from when he just does it, even though I think he's a bit of a madman, mad lad, if you will. I do get that energy. And but his ability just to forget everything else, oh, what was that pronunciation, and just work with what could be a 12-year-old boy is fascinating to me. Also, if that happened in the Muggle world, there would be a lot of problems. Also, to add on to that, I really think, as I said before, Dumbledore revels in chaos and therefore loves a good distraction because chances are he was just marking homework, which, I've never been a teacher, but at the same time, that probably drives you crazy. So when a kid comes along saying, you know what, let's go to space. I get where he's coming from when he just does it, even though I think he's a bit of a madman, mad lad, if you will. I do get that energy. And but his ability just to forget everything else, oh, what was that pronunciation, and just work with what could be a 12-year-old boy is fascinating to me. Also, if that happened in the Muggle world, there would be a lot of problems. And now, of course, we have the only person in the entire castle with any common sense, our girl, Minerva. I do feel so sorry for her because she has the only brain cell. And normally in a group when there's only one brain cell, it gets thrown about a lot. No, that's not the case here. And don't get me wrong, Flitwick's Snape, they're all very intelligent, but I think they just choose to ignore it because it's easier. Especially Snape, because at the end of the day, he's busy being a double spy, double agent, and also dealing with children. So I do get that, but she has to be the voice of reason. But what I'm interested in seeing is if she gives in, which, because this is a crack fan fiction, she might as well. And I would get that on a spiritual level. Let me just double check something. Um, yeah, she hasn't given in yet. But what do you think? Would she? I mean, for the sake of humor, I hope so. But I hope that also this leads into the other professors coming because I would love to see Snape's reaction and maybe the others too. Albus, where have you been? McGonagall's voice floats from the bottom of the revolving stairs. Potter's missing, and we haven't been able to get in contact with you. Severus is running spare with what? Oh. McGonagall stands at the door, looking at the pair in surprise. Her eyes move to the untouched plate of sandwiches and the parchment painted with black ink, and over Harry and Dumbledore with smudged fingers. Even Harry's nose is spotted with ink. Oh, McGonagall says again. She clears her throat and frowns professionally. She puts on her dignified voice. Are you diving into magical theory again, Professor Dumbledore? Minerva, my dear, Dumbledore exclaims joyfully. We are planning a prank. A prank, Snape appears behind McGonagall, a sneer on his face. You nearly gave us a heart attack for a prank. That is not to say we worried, of course. Of course, Dumbledore agrees. Harry's eyes dance between the professors, taking in the banter. Harry is so hyperfixated. I've never seen him or heard of him being that focused because normally he has to deal with so much, his mind's all over the place. But here, really, really focused. What else have I said? Oh, yes, this is what happened, right? Genuinely, Minerva just gave in. And she did it in the way that is classic Minerva, and that is by skill. Just like when, what's that word? When you can transform from a human to an animal. I swear to God, normally I know this word, but now because I'm on camera, I don't. Um, I'm, I'm thinking of amphibian. Something morphous? Yeah. Anyway, ambiguous? No, that's a different word. I hate all of this. Anyway, screw it, I'm going to look it up. Animagus? That. Um, just like how she shows that for the first time in front of Harry's class, and they go, "Whoa!" It's like more, "Look what I can do," which I respect that because people are going to learn more from that. But obviously, she knows that she's not. She doesn't need some 20. How old am I? Almost 26-year-old woman to tell her how to teach. I wonder if she's alive. Okay, let's not be depressing, Jesus. Um, yeah. So, a weak sticking charm can help us overcome gravity. Yes, yes, Dumbledore exclaims, scribbling again frantically. And the vacuuming charm, if I could tweak the incantation, like so. McGonagall stares at them, the words of her next sentence stuck in her open mouth. Snape raises an eyebrow as if to say, Are you seeing that? McGonagall closes her mouth with a snap, a mischievous glint in her eyes. She silently points her wand at the sandwiches. A couple floats in the air and shoots into Dumbledore's and Harry's mouths, cutting Dumbledore in the middle of his sentence. Harry takes the sandwich out of his mouth. Hey, what's the big idea? Just a bit of defying gravity, McGonagall replies airily, and make sure you don't disappear into the vacuum. Dumbledore has the grace to look sheepish. You're right, of course. Let's pause for lunch, Harry, then we can continue. Lunch? Comes Flitwick's squeaky voice. It's past dinner. What are you doing here? So now we have the gang, Flitwick and Snape. Now, Snape had to appear at some point, come on, but I'm glad the author included Flitwick. I think he's very underrated and such a character, literally and figuratively. But I love Flitwick. He sees what's happening, and there's a slight, what's happening. He sees what's happening and jumps in. What a man! I mean, no questions asked. Going to support his best friend slash boss And yeah, there's like an 11-year-old child that wants to maybe go to space or send someone to space, whatever, go with it. It's easier than questioning it. Flitwick ages very strangely. At the beginning, was it the beginning? He was old and then he was young, then old, whatever. We're just gonna go with him, go with it. He goes with what's happening, like he goes with his age. And I mean, I think that was just something they wanted to change. The director, the producers, and so forth. But still, it's fun to think about it. Then we have to talk about Snape. Snape, I love in crack fanfics, they kind of exaggerate his dramatic nature, but you don't even need to. He's like that. But the fact you do it even more, I'm just so excited I can't get all my words out. But the fact that you can do it even more, I just find fabulous. Because if someone needs to be overly dramatic, it's obviously going to be Severus Snape. So, talk some sense? Talk some sense into who is Dumbledore we're talking about, and his golden child who can do no wrong. Flitwick sneaks a look at the parchment as Harry splutters. Dinner? But we just had breakfast. Flitwick exclaims. A freezing and banishing charm hybrid would. Snape groans. They need dinner, not another lunatic. What's a lunatic? A jolly voice comes from behind them. Let me through, let me through, Sprout mutters, pushing at Snape and McGonagall still standing in the doorway. Pomona, talk some sense into them, McGonagall says, throwing up her hands. Proud looks at the trio behind, I think that's Pomona, looks at the trio behind Dumbledore's desk. Oh dear, so that's where Harry's been. Someone ought to let his friends know. Snape, being the king he is, sees what's happening, doesn't want to do anything about it or get involved because, unlike Flitwick, he doesn't see what's happening and then just embraces it. He sees what's happening and then wants no part and just. He's got enough going on. He's a double agent. Plus, he doesn't really like children and he's in charge of a lot of them, both as the head of Slytherin and as the potions professor. So, you know what? I get that too. And again, relating back to Albus, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be a broken record, but he's so out of it and not concentrating. He's got his colleagues around him. He's listening more to the boy than them. And he think, he's not even. No, I just had to check. Right, that is twice that he's outwardly said, I don't really know what the hell's going on aside from this chat I'm having with this boy about something, doing something ridiculous. It is Dumbledore coded. Let's not lie here. Everyone seems to be busy right now, Snape says, turning towards the stairs. Oh, no, you don't, McGonagall warns. They don't need traumatizing. Snake, Snape looks mutinous, but assents. His eyes dance around the occupants of the room, looking for someone to take his anger out on. Potter! Everyone jumps, falling silent. But the gravity charm will interfere with the. Albus, have you looked at the time? McGonagall's voice bellies her frustration. Why, of course, Dumbledore, my apologies, says mildly. It was lunch a while ago. Could be about evening now. There's four thumps as all the heads of houses smack their heads. Dumbledore and Harry look concerned. No offense, Harry says, but are you all okay? No, we are not, Snape snaps. Didn't you know Harry Potter is missing? Oh no, Harry exclaims. Where? Snape, being the king he is, sees what's happening, doesn't want to do anything about it or get involved because, unlike Flitwick, he doesn't see what's happening and then just embraces it. He sees what's happening and then wants no part and just. He's got enough going on. He's a double agent. Plus, he doesn't really like children and he's in charge of a lot of them, both as the head of Slytherin and as the potions professor. So, you know what? I get that too. And again, relating back to Albus, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be a broken record, but he's so out of it and not concentrating. He's got his colleagues around him. He's listening more to the boy than them. And he think, he's not even. No, I just had to check. Right, that is twice that he's outwardly said, I don't really know what the hell's going on aside from this chat I'm having with this boy about something, doing something ridiculous. It is Dumbledore coded. Let's not lie here. Snape groans as Harry looks around, searching for Harry Potter. McGonagall falls into a chair. I give up. Sprout pats her shoulder sympathetically. You're all balmy. Harry shakes his head. He turns back towards the parchment. But we have to consider the time aspect. Mr. Potter, Flitwick interrupts, drawing Harry's eyes to him. Tempus. The time 0108 float in the air. Only? Harry says in surprise. That's plenty of time. Past midnight, you dunderhead. Has gravity lost hold of you? Because your brain seems to be in space. Bed, Dumbledore says, rolling up the parchment. We'll return first thing tomorrow. Perhaps Harry ought to go to classes, Professor Dumbledore? Sprite reminds gently. Dumbledore turns to Harry in surprise. You missed all your classes. Now he gets it, Snape mutters. Sprout shoots him a glare which he ignores. I'm hungry, Harry replies, finally eating the sandwich in his hand. So am I, Dumbledore says, also starting to eat. Ah, the elves have really outdone themselves, haven't they? McGonagall clears her throat for attention, but Dumbledore doesn't take notice. Albus. Yes, my dear? Dumbledore asks, picking crumbs from his beard. So there isn't much to say here that hasn't already been said, but I think what we can say is that Dumbledore listens not because he wants to, but because he wants the others to shut up. Um, Again, if this was real life, this would be concerning, but it's not, so who cares? But I do like the Mbit, sorry. Albus, yes, my dear, he does have a soft spot for her. He knows that she goes through so much. That poor woman, give her a holiday. Please. McGonagall gives him a pointed look. Yes, yes, of course. Dumbledore turns to Harry. We'll work on it in your free periods. After completing your homework, McGonagall adds. Is that really? Dumbledore protests, but four pointed glares changed his mind, and he changes his mind. After your homework. The next day, when Harry enters Dumbledore's office after breakfast, there is a strange clock on his desk. Minerva's way of making sure we don't lose track of time, is Dumbledore's explanation. Harry shrugs, pushing it out of his mind. So I've been thinking. And then they're off, both talking over each other. An hour later, a voice shrieks at them. Gravity is not real. Gravity is not real. Oh no, Harry groans. Now we have to start over. It's all right, Dumbledore assures him. It's only the alarm. Classes are starting. Harry sighs, packing up, and promises to be back as soon as he can. We talked about something that was Dumbledore coded, so let's talk about something that's Minerva coded. The alarm. Yes, Queen, she doesn't want to be involved in it because why would she? She's going to observe and, if needs be, do what she can. But at the same time, she needs to keep her distance, which is somewhere in between Flitwick's involvement and Snape's. So I think that's probably the best because it's the best of both worlds. But let's not lie, as she's a busy bee, a busy cat, if you will. Um, yeah, so I think that's the right way to approach it, not to be analytical. Well, I kind of am. Um, but yeah, she's done with it. I I can't use words enough to describe that how sad it is this woman's doing. Like when she got his job, I know some people probably thought, oh, hmm, how how would she cope with that? Loads of her friends died. Dumbledore died, even though it was before the war. But still, sh those I think us Potterheads know that she was fine. In fact, there's no one to argue with her anymore. And even though she loved Dumbledore in her own way, there was no beef. There was no problems because no one had the authority to question her. And every single thing she probably implemented was a lesson she learnt from Dumbledore. So I do miss them as a dramatic duo, but I'm glad she got that peace and quiet she rightly deserves. A week later, Voldemort opens his eyes, feeling well rested after a long time. Bath, he commands with his eyes closed. Nothing happens. Blasted elf, Voldemort opens his eyes. He stares around in disbelief. His bed is on a rocky surface in the open air. There's nothing at all, as far as Voldemort can see, except for the side tract beside their bed. I think that just means like a floating bedside table. On it is a piece of parchment. Dear Voldy, not to worry, you are on the moon. Your lungs are getting oxygen from the earth, so you will survive. You only have to say the food you want, and you will get it within the hour. To move without gravity, cancel the sticking charm, then cast the anchor charm to the place you want to go. The incantation is Vivera. Viviera? What are your thoughts? Enjoy your retirement. Voldemort puts the parchment down in disbelief. Voldy, of course, being his rude ass self, is demanding a bath, as we just read. But I just love when rude people and insistent people like that just get their karma. And this karma is big. He's in mother clucking space. So the end when he goes, what is it? God. I get that. And I get that on a spiritual level, but I do it when I'm being over dramatic, like when I leave an exam. Okay, that kind of makes sense. But this morning I was having cereal. It's relevant. I had my glasses on and not my lenses, and because it's hot here in the UK, I don't want to have this argument when it's hot here is worse than when it's hot in other countries. Just is. But my glasses slid down into my cereal, and I made pretty much the same noise as Voldemort has just done in space. So, in fact, he's not a mood or anything like that. He's being quite underdramatic, and quite frankly, if he wants to have the reputation he has, he should give a proper reaction, like a fully vocal one. You can't scream in space, though. That's something to ponder about. But yeah, I take back the fact that if I was in his position, I'm not sure about you, leave your comments, but I would be far more dramatic. I think maybe on a spiritual, not a spiritual level, a fundamental level, he was like, well, yeah, this is what I deserved, but I'm kind of pissed off. Um, but my last point on this is that they could have just put him in space and killed him. But because they're all petty mother cluckers, because they're petty, they didn't. So that's he's going to go insane. And quite frankly, I am here for it. Anyway, that's the first one. I'm trying long form videos. I was thinking about doing different ones.
Hiya, this is Hoppy from the editing suite, meaning me and my Animal Crossing favourites at my friend's house. But we definitely decided, we meaning me, that long form isn't just going to work yet, because this is my first ever video and I tried doing all three at once. It couldn't be exported. It let's just say it took a month for this video to come out, and this was a third though of what was supposed to be. I'm trying to get all the other clips up, find them, rearrange them, ready to post them soon, but getting old corrupt content files, whatever, and trying to make them work and deciding whether to make them work or just I'm sorry, I don't mean to be boring, but yeah. Anyway, regardless, that was my first ever video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed. I'm a bit nervous with it going out, but it is what it is, and I'm just so glad that some of you have watched this. And stay tuned. So be happy, healthy, and hydrated, and ta-da! See you in the next one.